away. Anyways, New Yorkers, as we all know, enjoy a great quality of life and living longer, healthier lives. Our city is safer and cleaner than ever before, and our economy continues to outpace the rest of the nation in growth. And an important part of that story is something that many people have taken for granted, and that is New York City's world-renowned water. The water we drink, the water in the seas, bays, and rivers around us. And protecting the quality of that water really is essential. And that's why since 2002, we've invested some $20 billion in protecting it. $10.5 billion to safeguard our drinking water supply, and $9.5 billion to make our waterways cleaner still, which has made our harbors and rivers cleaner than they've been in a century. And part of that investment, more than $190 million, has been here at the Gowanus Canal. We are doing a major upgrade of the wastewater pumping station located here at the head of the canal, as well as other improvements. Our Environmental Protection Commissioner, Strickland, will go into more detail about that in a moment. But first, let me just point out that in spite of the delays caused by Hurricane Sandy, this year we will still complete the wastewater pump station, as well as the flushing tunnel that will circulate water from Buttermilk Channel into the canal, significantly improving water quality. Now, we have invested billions in New York City's world-renowned drinking water, most of which comes to us from reservoirs in the Catskills and Delaware watersheds, about 125 miles away. Every day, New Yorkers consume more than 1 billion gallons of water that's abundant and reliable. And to keep it that way for future generations, we've pursued three major priorities. First, we've worked hard to keep our water clean and safe along with every inch of its 125-mile journey to New York's homes and businesses. We've invested nearly $380 million to purchase and protect more than 125,000 acres of land around our reservoirs to prevent contaminants from reaching our water supply. We've spent another $250 million to upgrade the city's dams, and we've invested something like $1.6 billion to improve the city's network of water mains and pipes, including installing more than 470 miles of new pipes. Second, we've made investments to improve water treatment, and that includes $1.6 billion to construct the world's largest ultraviolet disinfection facility in the world. Ultraviolet radiation kills harmful microorganisms, and the facility came online just last year and just ahead of Hurricane Sandy. And it was one reason why we were able to assure New Yorkers who had a lot to worry about in the days after Sandy that their water supply was safe. We've also invested $3.2 billion to build a filtration plant for the Croton system, which will begin operation by the end of the year. And third, we are completing the third water tunnel. Already, we've invested $3.6 billion, and we're committed to spend another $1.1 billion to complete the tunnel by 2026. And that's more funding for this project than the 5 previous administrations committed combined. And progress on the third water tunnel is moving ahead, I'm happy to say, at full steam. In fact, we'll open the tunnel's Manhattan section later this year, the first water tunnel section opened since 1998. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we've also invested $9.5 billion to improve how we manage wastewater, and that includes $1.1 billion to reduce nitrogen emissions at wastewater treatment plants, $2.2 billion in new or upgraded sewer infrastructure, including construction or reconstruction of more than 600 miles of sewers, and $5 billion to upgrade the Newtown Creek wastewater treatment plant in Brooklyn, which is our city's largest. And now all 14 of our city's wastewater treatment plants meet the nation's highest standards, and that really did pay big benefits during and after Sandy, too. Unlike what you saw in neighboring areas, in New York City, 99% of our wastewater was being treated within 3 days after Sandy struck, and 100% of the city's wastewater was being treated within 2 weeks, and that prevented billions of gallons of toxic wastewater from being discharged into our rivers and bays. Going forward, we need to continue making the investments needed to protect our drinking water and continue to rejuvenate the New York Harbor. But they've also had to be cost effective. We don't have an unlimited amount of money, and that's why we have a $2.4 billion green infrastructure plan. Green infrastructure projects protects our sewer system by absorbing stormwater that would otherwise cause sewer overflows, and it also improves air quality and will make the whole city greener. And we've already completed more than 140 installations, and thousands more are in the pipeline, and we estimate that the green infrastructure plan will save New Yorkers more than $2 billion for investments that otherwise would have been necessary. Now, unfortunately, we've also had to contend with underfunded mandates from the federal government that have meant higher costs and less efficiency, and you should complain to the federal government about these. Over the last decade, 65% of DEP's capital spending went to address federal mandates, and that alone cost the average New York City homeowner $258 this year on their water bill. And some of these were necessary investments, but the fact that we were required to build them all at once, regardless of immediate need or construction costs, made all of the work more expensive and inefficient. Now, as the unfunded mandates imposed on the city increase, federal investment in water and wastewater infrastructure, which is promised as part of the Clean Water Act, has plummeted, and you'd expect exactly that from the government. They mandate things, they say they're going to do something, and then it's not here. Over the past 12 years, the federal government has contributed less than 2% of the $20 billion we have invested, meaning that New Yorkers have had to pick up almost the whole tab. Now, fortunately, Deputy Mayor for Operation Kaz Holloway and the Department of Environmental Protection has successfully worked with regulators to reduce future mandates, and in the next 10-year capital improvement plan, the percentage of mandated projects will fall to 18%. We've also established a three-way pilot program to cap the rental payment the Water Board pays to the city. That will save ratepayers nearly $60 million, allow us to keep rates as low as possible, and make further investments to improve the quality of our water. And with that, I'd like to welcome the Commissioner of our Department of Environmental Protection, Carter Strickland, to share a few words. Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and welcome everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'm Carter Strickland, Commissioner of the New York City Department of Environmental Protection. As the Mayor mentioned, over the last 12 years, New York City has made enormous investments in our drinking water and wastewater infrastructure. These investments are supported by our ratepayers, and they help ensure that New Yorkers will continue to enjoy some of the best and most reliable drinking water in the country, and a harbor that is cleaner and healthier than it has been in over a century. Today, New York City is one of only 5 big cities in the country that has a large, unfiltered water system, thanks to wise leadership and long-term planning going back more than a century. Earlier generations of New Yorkers recognized that clean water was essential for a growing and prosperous city. It prevented disease, protected public health, and allowed for effective fire suppression, all of which helped New York become the city we know today. And just as importantly, since the passage of the Clean Water Act in the 1970s, we've made significant progress in improving the health of our local waterways, which has helped keep our beaches clean, opened our rivers and harbors to recreation, and supported economic development on the waterfront. Under Mayor Bloomberg's leadership, we have continued the tradition of making the type of long-term investments that will ensure a bright future for our city. Which leads to me to why we are here today at the head of the Gowanus Canal. This is the site of the Gowanus Canal pumping station and flushing tunnel, which will reopen later this year. This project is one way we are working to significantly improve the quality of water in the Gowanus Canal, and is just one example of the investments we are making to improve water quality around the city. When this rehabilitated wastewater pumping station goes online later this year, it will have the capacity to pump 30 million gallons of wastewater a day to the Red Hook wastewater treatment plant. That's an increase of more than 10 million gallons over its previous capacity. We are also installing a new force main to relocate discharges away from the Gowanus Canal. These upgrades will not only increase capacity, they will help alleviate neighborhood flooding and reduce combined sewer overflows into the canal by 34%. We will also install a new screening technology at the largest outfall near the head of the canal that will catch trash and other debris that enters the combined sewer system from catch basins on neighborhood streets. This will significantly improve the health and aesthetics of the canal by reducing the amount of litter in the water. This technology has already been successfully employed along the Bronx River, and to date has helped prevent more than 10 tons of street litter from entering the city's waterways. In addition, later this year, we will reactivate the more than century-old Gowanus Flushing Tunnel. First installed in the early 1900s, the nearly 1.2-mile tunnel was originally designed to move stagnant water from the head end of the canal to Buttermilk Channel. After decades of use and upgrades, the tunnel was taken out of service in the 1960s, and water remained stagnant for over 3 decades. In 1999, we undertook repairs and redesigned it to reverse the flow of water. This brought fresh, highly oxygenated water from Buttermilk Channel to the end of the canal and flushed the lower quality water out. With this redesign, the health of the canal improved almost immediately and marine life started coming back. To further improve the effectiveness of the tunnel and water quality in the canal, we undertook plans for a complete redesign, and in 2010 it was shut down for an overhaul. When it is reactivated later this year, the improved tunnel will move more water, an average of 215 million gallons of healthy oxygenated water to the head end of the canal every day, or more than 60 million gallons more than it was able to prior to the shutdown. That's a 40% increase. And it will operate around the clock, moving water at a rate of 250 million gallons a day at high tide and 175 million gallons a day at low tide. This is an important improvement over the old tunnel, which had to be shut down at low tide when water was at its most stagnant. Further, to ensure that there are not prolonged periods when fresh water is not being brought into the canal, we are installing redundant systems that will allow us to keep the tunnel operational during future maintenance and repairs. This will dramatically improve the quality and ecological health of the canal's water. These upgrades are just some of the projects DEP is working on to improve water quality in the canal ahead of EPA's Superfund cleanup. Within a year, we will break ground on a project to install separate stormwater pipes, what we call high-level storm sewers, along 3rd Avenue and Park Slope. Once built, this project will keep millions of gallons of stormwater out of the combined sewer system, helping to mitigate neighborhood flooding during heavy rainstorms like we saw last week, and further reducing combined sewer overflows. In addition, as part of the city's $2.4 billion green infrastructure plan the mayor mentioned earlier, we will beautify the streets around the Gowanus Canal with more than 600 specially engineered curbside gardens called bioswales, which will also help capture stormwater before it can enter the sewer system. Taken together, these projects represent a more than $200 million investment that will reduce combined sewer overflows into the canal by as much as 45%, bringing in millions of gallons of fresh water every day and dramatically improving water quality to the point that we expect it to meet standards for recreational boating. Through the support of our ratepayers, New York City has made great strides protecting our drinking water supply and improving the health of our local waterways. DEP will continue to make smart and cost-effective investments to build on this success. And at the same time, we will work with state and federal regulators to ensure that we continue to make progress without placing an unnecessary burden on New York City ratepayers. Thank you all again for being here today, and I will now turn it over to Mayor Bloomberg.
Carter, thank you. The chair of the City Council's Committee on Environmental Protection, Council Member James Gennaro, has been an important part of these issues. Council Member?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Bob. I know you're going to speak next. I've just got a couple of...
I'm going to introduce them.
Okay.
No, they don't know.
All right, okay.
It's a surprise.
I spoiled it. Jim Gennaro, the spoiler. My usual role. But I really wanted to be here today to thank the mayor and their commissioner for their leadership for making these kinds of investments. I've been doing this for 23 years. I started in 1990 working for the city council. I was like the environmental policy wonk. And then 12 years later, I got elected to the council. I've been chairman of the committee since then. So I'm doing this, as I said, for 23 years. And what we really need is leadership. And that's what this administration has done. These are the kinds of things where it's very easy to just kind of kick the can down the road and let the next administration worry about not so sexy things like stormwater and other things that this administration has made very sexy. Going back to when we first, in 1997, when we got the filtration avoidance determination that allowed us not to build a big filter plant for most of the city's water that comes from west of Hudson. That was a very, very big deal, and that led to unparalleled investments that we had to make in watershed protection. It was a difficult thing to get. We had to spend tons of money in order to avoid spending tons of money building a big filter plant that we didn't need. The filter plant that the mayor made reference to, or Carter made reference to, is one for the Croton system. That's a different thing. We don't have to filter west of Hudson. That's huge. And that was a good thing, and we spent a lot of money. But this administration came in and did more than just spend a lot of money. They did a lot of innovation and pushing back against federal mandates. Back in the pre-Bloomberg days, a mandate was a mandate, and you did it, and you didn't just argue about it. These guys argued. And so, as you heard, most of the projects the city had to undertake were mandated, and now for the next 10-year capital plan, we're down to 16 or 18% or whatever it is, which is a very, very low number. So it lets, the mayor and the commissioner use money in the way that is going to be, that will best serve, the ratepayers of the city of New York. And with regard to some of the innovations that they've done, when it comes to, things like nitrogen removal. The federal government says you got to take nitrogen out of water this way with, hard pipes and all this other kind of stuff. And so this administration says we think there are low, capital ways and, different kinds of innovations that we can do to get nitrogen out of water once it goes through the sewage treatment plants, and they did that. I think a classic pushback that this administration has done is regard to something that's totally unnecessary, which is the covering of the Hillview Reservoir, 92 acres or whatever it is. That cover is going to cost a lot of money, and the previous administration, they were talking about how that was going to cost untold billions of dollars. They were going to do a concrete thing, which it was crazy. And this administration came forward and said, we are going to make the case that we don't have to build that cover. We don't have to spend billions of dollars on that. And so I think the good thing about this administration is that not just spent what needed to be spent, but did the innovation and the kinds of technologies that were going to save money, and just said no to federal mandates and said that we can do it better and we're going to show you how to do it. And I think it's going to be a template for other cities to push back. I just wanted to be here to put that on the record. This would have been an easy. I'm passionate about this stuff. I love storm water, I love sewage, I love clean water. But when you think about everything that is involved in doing that, this is a thing that could have been kicked down the road very, very easily. This administration didn't do it. They stepped up, and the people and the ratepayers of the city and the water quality that we drink and the water quality of our coastal waters will be the beneficiary. And I think it's just polite to come here and say thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim, thank you. And all kidding aside, thank you. You are one of those people that really stood up to something. You don't get a lot of credit for some of these long-term things, but these are the things that give us a future. And I, for one, think you've really done a great job.
Thank you.
I may be the only one. If you have a vote in your family, will you do okay?
I think I would.
Right, been there
victory.
before. The Regional Plan Association is committed to improving our region's quality of life and our economic competitiveness, and that's just what our administration's investments in our city's water system have done. And I would like to invite the president of the Regional Plan Association, Robert Yaro, to share a few words. Bob?
Well, we've all heard, how important these investments are to improving our quality of life, sustaining our environment, public health. I just want to underscore how important this is to the long-term well-being of the city's economy. These are investments that have been needed for decades. It was the disinvestment in plants like this one that undercut the environmental quality and water quality of this city for decades. It was closely paralleled. When I was growing up as a kid in Queens in the 50s and 60s, that's when the mayor stopped investing in these systems, and we lost more than 1 million residents during the 70s and 80s. And it was only with investments like this one and the commitment by this administration to safeguarding the long-term well-being of our public health, of our environment and so forth, of the city's quality of life, that we've seen this improvement in the economy in every corner of the city and the quality of life. We did a poll recently that asked New Yorkers how satisfied they were with their quality of life, how confident they were in the future of their city. The same questions we asked about 15 years ago in another poll. The numbers for the city went up dramatically because of investments like this one, because the leadership the mayor's provided. At the same time that in many of the suburban areas of the region, in places like Long Island and Connecticut, people don't have that kind of confidence in their public services and in the future of their parts of the region. So, look, these are the kinds of investments that are needed across the region. This mayor has stepped up to make them. It's reflected in the quality of life and the public health of this city. And our job at RPA and the other civic groups who care about this is going to be to make sure that this legacy continues, that this is just the foundation for the long-term continuation of these investments. So, again, congratulations to the mayor, to to Commissioner Strickland, to Councilman Gennaro for leading on this, so our job is to make sure that this kind of investment continues. We can't prevent storms like Sandy, but we can certainly prepare for them to make sure that they don't devastate our city again, and to make sure that the quality of our environment and our economy continues to be there. Again, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Bob, thank you. Let me just summarize for our Spanish-speaking audience. El agua de nuestra ciudad es un gran factor en el crecimiento de nuestras economía y calidad de vida. Desde el 2002 hemos invertido 20,000 millones de dólares para asegurar la calidad de nuestro sistema de agua y mejorar los ríos en nuestros alrededor. And with that, I'd be happy to take questions.